A short while later, Papik introduces Takumi to Mulan, the owner of the slave trading company. He informs her that Takumi is interested in purchasing a slave, although he points out that Takumi was quite hesitant about the idea. Curious, Mulan asks Takumi if there's a particular reason for his reluctance. Takumi then explains that in his homeland, the practice of buying and selling people was abolished long ago, making it difficult for him to come to terms with it here. Mulan acknowledges Takumi's concerns, but reassures him that, in this nation, the rights and privileges of slaves are at least maintained to a certain degree. Here's how it essentially works. The owner is responsible for providing the slave with essential needs like food, clothing, and shelter, while the slave is expected to fulfill specific duties outlined in their contract. The contract also includes a clause preventing either the master or the slave from causing lethal harm to the other. Takumi finds this arrangement reassuring, as it essentially turns the slave contract into something resembling a regular job with clearly defined rules. Mulan goes on to explain the different types of slave contracts. For instance, those who become slaves due to debt are contracted until they earn enough to repay what they owe. Permanent contracts, on the other hand, are typically assigned to criminals or war captives as an alternative to execution. However, most slave contracts result from people being illegally forced into slavery by bandits. Papik suggests that a war slave would be the best choice for Takumi since they cannot leave their master without permission. While Mulan can arrange this, she asks why it's so important for the slave to be bound in such a way. Papik starts explaining Takumi's exceptional production skills and the need to protect his secrets, but Mulan insists on hearing the reasoning directly from Takumi. Takumi clarifies that, as a producer, he wants to focus on his work, but managing quests from the Adventurers Guild makes that difficult. Living in a mansion, he also needs help with its upkeep. Moreover, due to certain unique skills he has, he needs assurance that his slave won't disclose any information about him. Lastly, because his quests involve harvesting ingredients and could be dangerous, he requires a slave who is also a skilled fighter to ensure their safety. Mulan quickly understands that Takumi doesn't have any bad intentions, but she firmly refuses to let him make a single slave handle both housework and combat. She's willing to do business with him only if he agrees to purchase 2 separate slaves for the roles. With that in mind, she mentions that she knows someone who would be perfect as a housekeeper and calls Maria into the room. Maria, who was forced into slavery as a child, has been trained extensively in reading, writing, mathematics, and general housekeeping, making her an excellent candidate for the job. Maria confidently states that she's capable of managing all the housework for a mansion on her own, which reassures Takumi. However, Maria notices that he seems lost in thought and asks if something is bothering him. Takumi tells her he's just a little confused since he doesn't understand why no one has bought Maria yet, considering how cute and capable she is. Maria gets all embarrassed by Takumi calling her cute, so he apologizes since it might have been inappropriate to say. Maria calms down and tells Takumi that she can only do the housekeeping work outlined in the contract and nothing else. Takumi says he's fine with that since he only wants her to do housekeeping work, but Maria wants to make it very clear that she won't do anything else. Takumi doesn't understand why she's talking about it so much since Mulan already explained how these contracts work, but then Maria blurts out that she can't sleep with Takumi. Takumi feels flustered as well, but reassures Maria that his intentions are genuine. He only wants her as a housekeeper, not anything inappropriate. With that clarified, Takumi asks Maria if she's still willing to form a contract with him, to which she happily agrees. With the matter settled, Mulan announces that she'll begin drafting the contract for Maria. However, when it comes to a battle servant, Mulan explains that she doesn't currently have anyone who meets the criteria. Hearing this, Maria calls her out, claiming that Sophia is still around. Mulan doesn't appreciate being challenged and sharply tells Maria to return to her room and start packing her belongings. After Maria leaves, Takumi asks Mulan if what Maria said is true. Mulan confirms that there is indeed a battle slave in the building, but warns that Sophia might not be a good match for him due to her many issues. Mulan attempts to end the conversation, but Takumi, intrigued, requests to meet Sophia. Reluctantly, Mulan agrees and takes him to her room. When they arrive, Sophia is startled to see that the visitor is the boy she encountered in the courtyard earlier. Mulan explains Sophia's background, revealing that she was captured as a war slave during the conflict between the Kingdom of Triaria and the Kingdom of Yugur events that took place over 50 years ago. Takumi is shocked to discover that Sophia is over 50 years old, leading Mulan to explain that the Kingdom of Yugur was an elf nation, and elves naturally have much longer lifespans. Mulan then details why Sophia has struggled to form a contract with anyone. She bears a noticeable scar on her ears, and both her right hand and left leg have limited mobility. These physical issues alone make her unsuitable for most seeking a battle slave. But on top of that, she has also lost her ability to use elemental magic, a defining trait of elves indicating she might be cursed. Given all this, Mulan doubts that Sophia could be of any help to Takumi on his quest. Despite her concerns, Takumi insists on assessing the situation himself and requests some time alone with Sophia. Mulan hesitantly agrees and leaves the room. Once they're alone, Takumi gently holds Sophia's face and looks into her eyes. Though he's not fond of using appraisal on people without consent, Takumi feels it's necessary to understand what he's dealing with. When he examines Sophia's status screen, he's stunned to see that her stats are incredibly high. While her injuries and curse do limit her abilities, Takumi realizes that if he can fix those issues, she would be an ideal battle companion. Soon after, Mulan returns to the room and asks if Takumi has made his decision. He confidently states that he wants to take Sophia. Surprised, Sophia reminds him of all her flaws, but Takumi assures her that he'll fix everything, so it won't be an issue. Impressed by his confidence, Mulan agrees to entrust Sophia to Takumi's care. A few minutes later, Mulan finalizes the terms of the contract, and the final step is to execute it. The three gather together as Mulan uses magic to bind them to the agreed terms. Once the process is complete, Maria and Sophia officially become Takumi's slaves. Maria expresses her gratitude to Takumi for choosing her and vows to work hard to meet his expectations. With Sophia echoing the sentiment, the trio eventually heads back to Takumi's house, and the moment he opens the door, Maple excitedly leaps out to greet him. Concerned for Takumi's safety, both Maria and Sophia immediately tense up, with Sophia preparing to attack. However, Takumi quickly stops her and explains that Maple is actually his pet killer spider. Though puzzled by the revelation, the two decide to accept it and act as if it's completely normal. A little while later, Takumi shows them to one of the empty rooms in the mansion. Sophia and Maria really like it, so Takumi tells them that Sophia can have this one and Maria can take the room next door. Neither of them can believe that Takumi is willing to give them their own rooms, but it's not like he's using the rooms anyway, so he thinks it would be nice if someone got some use out of them at least. Additionally, there is also a large bath. So he tells them that once they are done unpacking, they can use the bath whenever they like, and Maria is really excited about it. Later, while taking a bath together, Maria shares how pleased she is that Takumi chose to purchase Sophia as well. She admits she never believed Mulan would let Sophia go, as Mulan had spent the past 50 years refusing to sell her, no matter how much was offered. For Mulan to sell Sophia to Takumi, she must have seen something trustworthy in him. Sophia agrees that Takumi seems kind, but remains a bit wary since they know so little about him. During the contract preparations, Sophia caught a glimpse of Takumi's file and noticed that much of his background information, such as his hometown and lineage, was left blank. This makes her suspect that he might be intentionally hiding something. After they are done with their bath, they head outside and are shocked to see that Takumi already prepared dinner for them. Maria is especially devastated since household work is meant to be her job. So if Takumi handles everything himself, then she's as useless as a toilet. Takumi explains that he was just trying to make Maria's first day on the job a little easier, but if it makes her feel better, he will let her handle the rest of the chores on her own. For now, he asks them to sit down so they can all have dinner together. But Sophia is hesitant since servants usually don't get to eat at the same table as their master. Takumi understands that she may think his behavior is strange for a slave owner, but he doesn't want her to get stuck on tradition. On the topic of tradition, Takumi mentions that he's not particularly fond of being called master all the time and suggests that they call him by his name instead. Sophia, however, asks if this is a formal order. Takumi clarifies that he doesn't want to force her to call him by his name if it makes her uncomfortable. While Maria seems perfectly fine with addressing him by name, Sophia remains a bit reluctant. The next day, Takumi heads to Papek's trading company to pick up a package he ordered. Papek says he did his best to wrap it up securely, but he still wants Takumi to be careful when carrying it home. On his way home, Takumi notices a church nearby, so he heads inside and kneels down to pray to Nolan. He thanks her for all the skills she gave him since they've really helped him, but there's something he's been meaning to ask her. In the time he has spent in this world, he learned that the Holy Empire of Sidonia controls the religious doctrine here, so he doesn't understand why Nolan has so much problem with them. At that moment, Takumi hears Nolan's voice and notices her standing before him, causing him to momentarily panic. Nolan calmly explains that she heard him praying to her and brought him here for a little chat. Addressing his earlier question, she reveals that she doesn't favor Sidonia because they don't follow her will. She goes on to explain that this world has two main religions, the Church of Creation and the Church of Divine Light. The Church of Creation has faithfully worshipped her since its inception, while the Church of Divine Light operates without regard for her guidance, doing as it pleases. The Sidonia Empire even launched multiple crusades to forcibly spread their religion. Throughout all this, Nolan chose to remain uninvolved, as she had no interest in meddling with humanity's petty disputes. Takumi points out that that was a dumb move, since the only reason Sidonia was able to activate the summoning spell that brought him here was because Nolan didn't intervene until it was too late. And yeah, it sounds bad when he puts it like that, but she gave him all her blessings to make up for her mistake. Although there is something she needs to tell him, most of her blessings will remain with him forever. But there is one that will fade away, and that's the unusually great luck he has been having recently. She basically gave him a beginner's tutorial by allowing him to meet such nice and helpful people. But soon he will end up meeting people with malicious intentions. From now on, the results of his actions will completely depend on him. Shortly after, Takumi arrives home, only to trip over Maple, who eagerly greets him. Sophia and Maria rush to check on him, but when Sophia tries to take the package he brought, he quickly stores it in his item box to keep her from touching it. He then informs them that he'll be working in his workshop for a while and requests not to be disturbed. Sophia, noticing the package was wrapped in high-grade magical paper, grows suspicious, suspecting it might contain something dangerous. Unable to ignore her doubts, she follows Takumi to his workshop. There, she is shocked to witness him dipping a knife in poison, deliberately cutting himself, and immediately healing the wound. His actions seem bizarre and unsettling. When Takumi casually mentions Maria's name during his experiment, Sophia's suspicions intensify, leading her to believe he has sinister intentions toward Maria. She tries to attack him, but overwhelmed by exhaustion, collapses on top of Takumi instead. Takumi checks her status to figure out what's wrong with her, and he discovers that she is suffering from extreme exhaustion, likely due to her curse. A wound like this normally wouldn't be that difficult to heal, but because of the curse, it takes a lot of effort for Takumi to finally heal her hand. Once he's done, his light magic levels up. He later carries Sophia up to her room, and since his light magic leveled up, he now has enough power to dispel her curse, so he pours all his magic into it, and eventually, he's able to fully heal Sophia as well as lift her curse. She's still unconscious due to exhaustion, but she should be fine once she gets a little rest. A couple of hours later, Sophia wakes up, and upon seeing Maria, she urgently warns her to run, convinced that Takumi is completely insane based on what she witnessed earlier. Maria, however, has no idea what Sophia is referring to, but she's more certain than ever that Takumi is a genuinely good person. To prove her point, Maria holds up a mirror for Sophia, revealing the changes Takumi has made. Sophia is stunned to realize that her body has been healed and her magic restored. Determined to understand, Sophia steps outside to confront Takumi, who confirms that he successfully removed her curse. He explains that it required enduring significant pain and effort to level up his skill, but he reassures her that she doesn't need to feel burdened by it. After all, he had promised to heal her. Sophia comes to the realization that she had entirely misjudged Takumi. Overwhelmed with gratitude for the kindness he has shown her, she kneels before him and solemnly vows to serve him faithfully for the rest of her life. The following morning, Takumi makes his way to the library to search for information about alchemy, only to discover that the entire library contains just 4 books on the subject. Puzzled, Takumi wonders why alchemy isn't more widely practiced, especially since it seems so straightforward to grasp. However, the truth is that alchemy is far from simple. The available texts on alchemy are written in the ancient language of this world, and the only reason Takumi can make sense of any of it is thanks to the blessing Nolan gave him, which allows him to understand every language in this world. Later that day, Takumi, Maria, and Sophia finish making a large batch of toilets. While there's still plenty more to make, they've been making steady progress. Takumi figures he'll be able to take a break from toilet making for a while, since he won't be working on more toilets for the time being. Maria asks what he plans to do next. Takumi explains that he's planning to go on some journeys in the near future. Specifically, he wants to search for new alchemy ingredients, take in the unique sights this world has to offer, and maybe even explore some ruins along the way. He's already decided to take Sophia along as his bodyguard, so he's going to need Maria to stay behind and look after the house while he's away. Maria, however, isn't thrilled with the idea. She asks Takumi if she can join him on his journey, but he doesn't think it's a good idea since the trip is likely to be dangerous. Besides, he mainly hired Maria to take care of the mansion, so taking her along would defeat the purpose of having a maid. While Maria understands his reasoning, the thought of being left alone in the mansion makes her feel incredibly lonely, so she pleads with Takumi to reconsider. Takumi feels guilty about leaving Maria by herself, but before making a decision, he decides to check something. He grabs Maria's face and uses appraisal to examine her stats. To his surprise, Maria is quite impressive. Her skills are excellent, not overpowered, but definitely strong enough to hold her own in a fight. With that, Takumi agrees to let her come along, as long as she's confident she can handle the journey. Sophia offers to train Maria in magic and combat to ensure she's prepared for any potential dangers, and Takumi likes the idea. He then asks Sophia to train both him and Maria. Now that it's settled that Maria will be joining the expedition, Takumi decides it's time to start crafting equipment for everyone. Before getting to work, he asks Sophia what kind of weapon she'd prefer. Without hesitation, Sophia begins listing an extensive arsenal of weapons. She requests a longsword, a 2.5-meter spear, a bow, and 2 knives. That level of preparation is no surprise, given her experience as a seasoned warrior. Maria, on the other hand, isn't very familiar with weapons, though she did receive some basic short sword training from Milan. She tells Takumi that a set of battle knives should be sufficient for her. However, Sophia points out that relying solely on battle knives would leave Maria at a disadvantage in terms of reach, so she suggests adding a spear to her arsenal. Since Maria doesn't know how to use a spear, Sophia offers to give her some quick training to teach her the basics. While they work on that, Takumi gets started on crafting the weapons. It doesn't take him long to finish making all the blades, but the process uses up a significant amount of his mana, forcing him to drink a mana potion to recover before he can continue. The final step for the blades is for Takumi to cast an attack and auto-repair enchantment on them, so he doesn't have to perform maintenance as often. Once that's done, the blades are finally complete. Now, he's going to move on to the handles, but since Maria requested battle knives, she's going to need a sheath for them, and even though Takumi is a gentleman, he's still a man of culture, so imagining Maria's thick thighs with knives on them nearly makes him pass out. Next up, Takumi needs to craft armor for the girls. Instead of directly asking them to let him take their measurements, he comes up with a more convenient solution. He opens his item box and pulls out 2 life-size dolls of Maria and Sophia that he had previously created using his Appraisal X skill. Just don't ask why he made them in the first place. As for the armor itself, Takumi plans to make it using maple silk and some of the carapace and hide he got from the armored boar. When it comes to the design, he's never had the chance to make armor for others before, so he decides to let his mind run wild and try out all his outfit fantasies with those dolls. After several days and multiple redesigns, Takumi finally presents the armor to Maria and Sophia, and it looks fantastic on them. He asks if they like it, and both are genuinely surprised by how perfectly it fits, especially since Takumi never took their measurements. It's almost as if he had exact replicas of them. Suddenly, Maple starts to spill the beans scenes about the dolls Takumi used, but he quickly covers Maple's mouth before she can say anything further. To divert their attention and avoid suspicion, Takumi shifts the conversation, asking them what they think of the weapons he crafted for them. Sophia pulls out the sword Takumi made for her, and she says it feels perfect. The same goes for Maria as she tests out her battle knives, and she is grateful for the equipment he made for her. There's one more thing Takumi made for the two of them, so he pulls out some rings and tells them it should help with their magic casting. Sophia and Maria accept the rings, but they feel bad about troubling Takumi so much since rings like these are bound to consume a ton of mana. Takumi admits that it was exhausting, but it helped him level up his ice and lightning magic, so it was well worth the effort. Once all the equipment had been tested, the three of them head to the guild so Takumi can register Maria and Sophia as adventurers. Since it's their first time at the guild, Maria and Sophia are both assigned the H rank. While they're there, the receptionist reminds Takumi that he needs to complete at least one quest to maintain his adventurer status. Takumi then heads over to the mission board to look for a suitable quest. He's aiming to pick an H or G rank quest to keep things simple, but Sophia suggests he go for a higher difficulty quest instead, as it would help him raise his rank more quickly. A couple of bastards overhear that Takumi is H rank, so they think they can intimidate him into running away so they can have fun with Sophia and Maria. They tell Takumi that they are all D rank, so there's no way he could handle them all at once, and they have no problem with beating up a random guy for fun. Maria is about to step in and knock some sense into these idiots, but Takumi stops her and says he will handle it himself. He's absolutely terrified, but these guys not only disrespected him, but more importantly, they disrespected his friends, so he can't back down. The D-rank adventurers are insulted that an H-rank rookie like Takumi would dare to challenge them, so the pot-bellied guy throws a punch at him with all his strength. Takumi doesn't even bother dodging, letting the punch land, but the only one who gets hurt is the D-rank guy, as he ends up breaking his hand from the impact. Suddenly, the guild master, Barak, arrives on the scene, demanding to know what happened since fighting is strictly forbidden in the guild. Initially, he assumes Takumi is the one at fault because Takumi is completely unharmed, while the other guy has a broken arm. However, Maria quickly defends Takumi, insisting he didn't do anything wrong. The receptionist also steps in to confirm their story, explaining that all Takumi did was stand there and take a punch to the face. The guild master still wants to get to the bottom of this, so for now, he asks someone to drive the potbelly guy away and tells Takumi and his party to come with him since he has a few questions to ask. He believes that Takumi was just defending himself, but he doesn't understand how he did it and would like an explanation. Takumi is a little uncomfortable about revealing personal skill information, but the guild master assures him that all this information will remain confidential. In that case, Takumi explains that when the guy threw the punch at him, he opened his item box and pulled out a bit of charcoal, which he then used to cover his body for defense. To make sure he wouldn't get hurt, he synthesized the charcoal into diamond. That explains how he broke that guy's fist without doing anything. While they're on the subject, the guild master suggests promoting Takumi to D rank immediately. It's clear he has the skills to qualify, and having a higher rank would deter fools like the last guy from targeting him just because he's accompanied by attractive women. However, Takumi feels it wouldn't be right to receive an automatic promotion for such a reason. Hans then proposes that Takumi and his party take on a few challenging quests to earn their rank promotion fairly. Both Sophia and Maria think this is a solid idea, so Takumi agrees to go along with it. The quest they were assigned involves exterminating goblins and kobolds and gathering merle herbs. They head out into the forest to begin. Maple acts as the group scout and warns them that there is a group of 4 goblins ahead. Sophia takes the initiative and volunteers to handle the first 2, so she dashes forward and cuts them down in one swing. The remaining 2 are tripped up by Maple's web, and once they fall to the floor, Maria and Takumi stab them through the neck. Takumi is pleased with how well they've been handling the monsters, but he can't help but notice just how many they've been encountering in this area. They've already taken down nearly 100 goblins and kobolds, which leads Sophia to suspect that there might be a monster encampment nearby. If that's true, then it's highly likely that a goblin general is present as well. A goblin general is a C-rank monster, meaning it would usually require at least 5D rank parties to defeat it. But with Sophia's spirit magic, Maria's earth magic, and Takumi's elemental magic, she is confident that they should be able to beat it. Takumi still feels a bit uneasy about taking on such a challenge, but since Maria and Sophia seem so confident in their strength, he's willing to go along with it, not to mention they still have Maple on their side. Out of nowhere, Maple informs Takumi that she's about to evolve and can no longer participate in the fight. Takumi nods in understanding and opens a pocket dimension for her to rest in. However, this leaves Sophia and Maria full of questions, wondering when Takumi learned to create pocket dimensions. Takumi casually dismisses their curiosity, claiming it's just one of his skills. More importantly, he points out that with Maple out of commission, they won't have as much support as they initially planned. Despite this, Sophia remains confident that they can still manage to succeed. They soon arrive at the goblin camp, and after a little reconnaissance, Sophia concludes that there are around 400 goblins here. Takumi asks her if they really have to fight all those goblins, and normally they would. But Sophia's reconnaissance also revealed that there are no humans in the area, so they are free to blow this place up with magic. The three of them prepare their strongest attack spells, and all at the same time, they unleash hell on the goblin camp. By the time they are done, almost all the goblins have been killed, so the only ones left are the goblin general and a few of the goblin knights. Sophia decides to take on the goblin knights, leaving Takumi to deal with the goblin general. Instead of engaging it directly with his spear, he chooses to set it on fire, quickly finishing it off. Once they confirm that all the goblins have been eliminated, they collect the magic stones and head back to the guild, completely drained from all the effort. The three of them can barely stand. Hans is astonished that they managed to complete their quest and even defeat a goblin general in just half a day. He then asks them to step into the meeting room because the guild master wants to have a word with them. Barak is both amazed and angry that Takumi would do something as reckless as face an entire goblin camp with this single party. But just as he is about to begin scolding Takumi, his pocket dimension opens up, and Maple pops out. She has now evolved into an arachne, so everyone is excited to see her new form. At this point, Barak decides to just let the whole reckless battle thing slide since Takumi's party clearly isn't normal. When they arrive back home, Maria asks Takumi if he has any spare cloth so she can make some underwear for herself and Sophia. However, Takumi comes up with a much better design idea and offers to make it for her instead. Just then, Maple emerges from the pocket dimension and informs Takumi that Papek has arrived to see him. Takumi goes to meet him and learns that Marcus Godwin, the Lord of Bolton, has requested an audience with him. While Takumi would prefer to avoid meeting Marcus Godwin, the circumstances leave him with no other option. Takumi eventually arrives at Godwin's castle, and fortunately, Godwin turns out to be a reasonable man. The first thing he does is express his gratitude to Takumi for creating all those toilets, which have significantly improved the town's sanitation. He also acknowledges Takumi's efforts in taking down the goblin encampment, which would have posed a serious threat if left unchecked. Recognizing Takumi as a valuable asset to the nation, Godwin advises him to be cautious, as it's only a matter of time before Sidonia sets its sights on him. A few days later, Takumi finally completes the underwear for Sophia and Maria, but the process turned out to be much more challenging than he expected, leaving him completely exhausted. Sophia and Maria are thrilled with the results and praise the design, expressing their gratitude. Absent-mindedly, Takumi asks if they'd like to try the underwear on now so he can check the fit. A moment later, he realizes how inappropriate that sounded and bolts out of the room in embarrassment. Sophia and Maria, however, are a bit disappointed, as they were more than willing to do it if he had stayed.